Welcome back to Higurashi. So, we're going to start this off by watching this tip. It was delicious. We could see a blushing Mion in the thumbnail. You can have a pretty good idea of what's going on here, but we'll see. It's always weird though how these pretty important scenes, in my opinion, are relegated to tips. Now that's not to say that the tips aren't important, of course, but it's just what they choose to relegate to tips and what they choose to actually show in the main story is indicative of, like, what they want you to be focusing primarily on, I think, so I don't know. Or maybe they put things in the tips because it'll be useful to consult later. I don't know. Anyway. Let's just watch it.
Oi, Mio, これ。
何よ、ケイちゃん。
I thrust the bento box she'd given me yesterday at her face.
昨日差し入れてもらった弁当箱だよ。ごちそうさま。うまかったぜ。
Mion's face quickly flushed bright red. Hey now, you were the one pretending to be Shion when you gave it to me. You're gonna give it away if you get all red like that when you're being Mion. At this rate, she might trip and fall right into her own grave, so I decided to help her out.
あのな、俺、昨日腹を空かせてたらさ、シオンがわざわざ家まで来て、弁当を差し入れてくれたんだよ。で、これはその弁当箱。ちゃんと洗ってあるからな。
そうなんだ。シオンは気が利くね。
That was so transparent. Was Mion always this terrible at lying? No, it seems like just whenever this issue of Shion comes up, like it's like she has a bit of a complex about it and kind of like starts, I guess, dipping into that personality a little bit whenever the subject comes up. Like whenever it's even like on her mind slightly, it's hard for her to maintain the personality that she has, is what I think. Her expression was different than usual, but it looked strangely cute.
どうだった？
ミオンにウリ二つなやつだと思うぞ。だって双子なんだろ。似てて当然だよ。
じゃなくて、
Mion looked kind of bewildered, like she was waiting for a specific answer. When she said impression, maybe she didn't mean Shion, but the bento?
ああ、もちろん。うまかったぜ。
本当に？
俺は食い物の感想には嘘はつかないぞ。俺がうまかったって言ったら、誰が食ったってうまい。万人におすすめできる評価だと思っていいぞ。シオンに実に美味しかったって伝えておいてくれ。
シオンにね、伝えておくよ。きっと喜ぶと思うよ。
But every time this kind of thing pops up, like, every time she says something like this, while I am thinking it is like a personality thing, like a DID kind of thing, I'm also kind of looking at everything she says potentially as if, what would the context mean of this if there was a Mion, and there was a Shion? So, when she says, like, happily giggling like this, like, yeah, give it to Shion or tell Shion, I don't know, it makes me think that if there is a Shion, then maybe Mion doesn't have a very good relationship with her, but she wants to, and maybe she's a bit embarrassed about that. I don't know, you know. There's like a few different ways you can interpret this whole situation, and we're not gonna really have a definitive answer for a while, I don't think. Especially, I think the fact that they're putting all this Shion stuff in the tips makes me think that this is going to be a mystery throughout the entire episode, and we're not going to get a clear answer by the end. But we'll see. We're going along with Shion having given it to me, not Mion, aren't we? Yet her laugh, it came from deep down, and it sounded really happy. I guess she really can laugh nicely enough that just looking at her makes me feel better too. A sarcastic remark made its way onto my tongue, but I swallowed it back. As Mion went to put the bento box in her bag, she noticed a clattering noise.
ケイちゃん、なんか入ってるよ。あれ？はあ。
She opened it. The thing inside was a little embarrassing, so I wish she hadn't opened it here. Panicking, I hid it with my hands.
な、これはだな。うちのお袋がお礼に入れとけって言ったんだ。別に俺のセンスじゃないんだからな。誤解すんなよ。
綺麗。飴だ。
There was a handful of candies neatly wrapped in paper inside the sparkly clean bento box. When I was cleaning the box out yesterday in the sink, Mom came over and interrogated me, and I fessed up as to who had given me the food. Then she told me that something like this called for a display of gratitude. I'm gonna guess that he just told his mom that it was Mion, and he didn't mention the whole Shion thing. I didn't want to because it was embarrassing, so I argued that it wouldn't be like me to do that.
というわけなんだ。まあ、その。
I was so embarrassed it felt like fire might shoot out of my face. Mion laughing the whole thing off like she usually did would be fine, but for some reason she was staring at the candy in the box with fascination.
ありがとう。
俺に言うな。入れたお袋に言ってくれ。それにミオンが俺を言う必要なんかないんだぞ。それはシオンにあげるものなんだからな。
あ、うん、そうだよね。うん。シオンに伝えておくね。きっとシオンも嬉しがると思うよ。
Mion, looking a little downtrodden, put the lid back on the box. And that's almost like Keiichi telling her that she can't be herself if she wants to, like, be a girl. She has to be Shion whenever she wants to, like, do something girly or like, get Keiichi's affection or something like that. And it's kind of like reinforcing that, which is not necessarily a good thing. I don't know. Seemed like I ended up saying something a little mean at the end.
今日はなんだかみーちゃん、ほんわかな感じだね。いいことでもあったのかな。風邪でもひいたんではありませんの？お顔が赤いのはきっと微熱のせいでしたよ。ってリカ、なんで私の頭を撫でますの？さとこもきっとそのうちお風邪をひけるようになりますですよ。
Alright. So, let's move on with the actual chapter. I might have explained this before, but phys ed at our school is really just an exercise in disorder. After some random warm-ups, the rest of the time is spent doing whatever. You're free to cause a ruckus or just fall asleep. Oh yeah, come to think of it, that was in the first episode, or the first chapter, where they had just, that was when they were playing, what was it? Zombie?
よくは知らないけど、教育委員会とかに教育指導要項とかあるだろ？何歳ならこれくらいの運動能力がなければいけないみたいなさ。
Well, surely they've got to have some kind of tests, right? Like,
圭一さんが何を言ってるのか難しくてさっぱりですわよ。先生の授業の進め方のルールみたいなものなの。はっはっはっは。都会の軟弱な連中にはそういうのは必要だろうけどさ、田舎育ちのうちらが身体能力で劣ると思う？僕たちは圭一が思ってるよりも運動神経はいいのです。
That's probably true. Come to think of it, they might be right. If we all lined up for a race, there was a good chance I'd finish dead last if I didn't start off well. Let's just pray that when a brutal penalty game is at stake, the 100-meter dash isn't a club activity.
ではそういうことで、俺はテレビの見過ぎで実に素敵に眠い。睡眠時間の補給をさせてもらうぜ。空腹絶頂の4次元目。今寝ずにいつ寝るよ。
As I began to sprawl out on top of a pipe, Mion grabbed me by the collar.
ちまさかおとなしく眠らせてもらえると思ってる？
その顔で言われたら、おとなしく寝る方が勇気がいりそうだ。
Good grief. Which means, is it going to start again?
さて、このまま井戸端会議でチャイムを待つなんて、熱き血潮のたぎった私たちには無理だよね。部活タイム、行ってみよっか。
ちぇ、案の定来やがったな。今日のゲームは何だ？
Now that this is happening, taking a nap is impossible. Not just that, with this sleep-deprived head of mine, I'm as good as mincemeat. I have to get my brain into gear.
レナはそれより、今日の罰ゲームは何かなの方が先だと思うな。レナは分かってるね。今日もとびっきりのを用意してるよ。
She began to announce the cruel penalty game with a grand spinning flourish. But before she could do that,
ごめんなさいです。僕はちょっとやりたいことがありますです。
of all people, it was Rika-chan announcing her non-participation. Even rare events do eventually occur. What do you mean you have something to do? We're in the middle of phys ed class. Losing her timing, Mion spun like a top as she tumbled to the ground.
あれれれれれれれ。何？どうしたの？今日は調子悪いの？あ、そうか。みーちゃん、綿流しの練習だよ。
Oh yeah, she does have to do that.
そうですわよ。今度の日曜日ですもの。リカは猛特訓中なのですわよ。
I mean, I guess it makes sense that she would spend phys ed doing that.
最近は頑張りすぎてお腕が痛いのです。そっか。じゃあ仕方ないな。全員揃わないなら仕方ない。今日は各人のんびりしようかね。ごめんなさいなのです。でも頑張りますですよ。頑張ってね。レナたちも応援してるからね。
When Mion announced that today's club activities were cancelled, Rika-chan and Satoko headed off behind the school building. Only I was left alone, completely clueless as to what everybody was talking about. Wonder why Satoko went with her. I mean, I guess just to hang out and watch, I guess.
一体何なんだ？リカちゃんは何か大会前とかで特訓をしてるのか？
リカちゃんは綿流しの巫女さんだから奉納の演舞をすることになっててね。その練習なの。
Why don't you explain things in order? First of all, what is this Watanagashi? Next, what do you mean by Shrine Maiden? Last, what do you mean by Ritual Dance? I mean, the last two are pretty self-explanatory, but I could understand not understanding the first one.
あれ？ケイちゃん家には回覧板とか行ってない？書いてなかった？今度の日曜に綿流しのお祭りがあるって。
Huh? Come to think of it, I have a feeling that Mom did say something about it during dinner the other day. The Watanagashi is a festival that happens at the shrine on a Sunday every June. It's very lively. I see. But Watanagashi sounds like a pretty strange name for it. Is it something like the Lantern Festival, where they have a memorial for the dead by floating things down a river? Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
さすがはケイちゃん、察しがいいね。綿流しはね、名前の通り綿を流すんだよ。
The cotton you see is from futons or jackets. I'm assuming this is Rena speaking. So it'd be something like a futon memorial.
祭壇にもお布団を積み上げているし。
I've heard of people leaving offerings of things like needles or kitchen knives to their ancestors or to casualties of war. Needles and kitchen knives, eh? Always, like, reinforcing the fact that knives are going to be important in this chapter. Just as the needle was like a poignant piece of imagery last chapter. But an offering of futons is a first for me. What's the history behind that? Mion tilted her head pensively.
言われなんてほど難しいのはないと思うな。この辺って冬の寒さはかなり厳しいからね。布団とか斑点とかの防寒具を特に大切にしたからじゃないかな。
So you destroy them and send them floating down the river when they're that important? I mean, I guess it makes sense from a perspective of like really, really respecting their god, but it does sound a little counterproductive.
ああ、なるほどな。つまり冬の間お世話になった布団に感謝しようってわけだ。で、巫女さんが供養をして最後に川に流すわけか。それが綿流しってわけだろ。
Mion and Rena indicated that I had the correct answer with a round of applause.
でねでね、その供養をする巫女さんの役がリカちゃんなの。
へえ、リカちゃんが巫女なんだ。言われてみればリカちゃんってどことなく神秘的な雰囲気あるよな。
Yeah, no kidding. Even more of a mystical air in a certain sequel.
だよね、だよね。リカちゃんの巫女さん姿ってね、はう。かいいんだよ。
It certainly does seem like it would suit her. Yeah, it might be cute.
ようやく話が見えてきたぞ。リカちゃんの言う特訓ってのはこの巫女さん役の練習なわけだな。
そういうこと。巫女さんが布団をお祓いする一連のセレモニーを奉納演舞って呼ぶんだけどね。それの練習なんだよ。結構大変なんだな、これが。巫女さんはね、祭事用の大きな桑を持って演舞をするんだけど、それがね、リカちゃんにはすっごく重いらしいの。
リカちゃんってちっちゃいもんな。その重い桑ってどのくらい重いんだ？
かなり重いらしいよ。リカちゃんは餅つき用の杵で練習してるくらいだから。
Wait a minute. That's way too heavy. Forget about Rika-chan. That'd be rough even for me.
祭事用の神聖な桑だからね。間違って落としちゃったら大変らしいし。まあ、年に一度のお勤めだからね。私たちは陰ながら応援するしかないね。大丈夫。去年もちゃんとやり遂げたんだから。
そっか。じゃあさ、せめて応援してやろうぜ。それくらいならいいだろう。
I was rather curious about how exactly she practiced. Mion laughed as she shook her head.
ほっといてあげなよ。ケイちゃんが来たら、リカちゃんは可愛くなっちゃうから、特訓ができなくなるよ。
Hmm? I didn't quite understand what Mion was saying.
リカちゃんはね、努力とかそういうのを人に見せるのが好きじゃないの。
Even though Satoko is apparently with her, so...
そっとしておいてあげて。
It seems like those two are particularly close. not just in age, but also in just friendship in general. Even the always cool and aloof Rika-chan has times when she sweats while giving it her all. Because she was always so well put together, she didn't want people to see an ungainly side of her. It's not like I couldn't understand that feeling. I've never even heard that word before, ungainly. I'm gonna have to look that up between episodes.
俺にできるのは成功を祈ることだけってことか。頑張れフルでリカ応援してるから
Well then, I climbed up onto the pipe and plopped down on my side.
フレリカちゃんさらに応援の電波を高めるためこれより瞑想状態に入る
結局寝るわけか。
The lackadaisical noontime ended up giving way to mind-numbing afternoon classes. Rebounding from yesterday's hunger, I ate too much for lunch today, leaving me in a horrible condition.
さすがに食いすぎた。午後の授業は答える。
ケイチくん、今日はなんだかすごい食欲だったもんね。基本的にいつも大食いだけどさ、今日はなんか格別だったね。
昨日は俺昼飯抜きだったろ。そのひもじさが染みついちゃってさ。今度は逆にいくら食っても食欲が底なしっていうか。
わかるよわかるよ。しかしケイちゃんってさ、いつもお弁当きれいに食べるよね。ご飯一粒も残さないっていうか。
食べ物ってのは作ってくれた人に感謝して食べるもんだぜ。残したら苦労して作ってくれた人に失礼だろ。
Hearing that, Mion's eyes momentarily widened in surprise, followed by a cool laugh.
ケイちゃんってさ、ぱっと見ワイルドでいい加減そうなんだけど、結構律儀だよね。しつけがいいというか。あ、うん、それはレナも思うな。ケイチくんって見かけよりずっと優しい人だよ。
Both of them were probably trying to compliment me, but I had a strange feeling I wasn't being complimented at all.
そんなことないって。見かけと中身は大違いってそう言いたいんだよ。
それが褒めてねって言ってんだよ。
こら、園崎さん、前原くん、授業中ですよ。園崎さんはどこまで進みましたか？ノートを持ってきてください。
Startled, Mion vocalized a rather easy-to-understand utterance. She was so enthralled in the conversation she had stopped working completely.
まあ、そこそこに。さっきから全然進んでないじゃないですか。最上級生なんだから、もっとしっかりしないといけませんよ。
That Mion, it looks like she's getting lectured. Poor bastard.
人は見かけによらないっていうことだね。むしろ見かけとは逆がまことかもしれないよ。
面白いこと言うじゃねえか。
Responding to Rena's seemingly profound statement, I turned my gaze to where Satoko was happily studying together with Rika-chan. I wonder how literal that's going to end up being. If literally everybody is going to end up being the opposite of how they actually are. So like Satoko is going to end up being like the actual sweet and kind one, whereas Rika is going to end up being the monster, and then we already know that Reina's kind of a monster, but I don't know. I feel like it's more complicated than that. You can't really distill it down to just everybody's the opposite of how they appear, because there's a lot going on with that. But I feel like they're at least planting that idea in our heads that we should be considering it. Even if it's just so that it can be subverted later. We'll see.
あの生意気盛りのサトコも実は見かけとは逆にすげえ塩らしいってのかよ。
If I went by what Reina literally said, then that would be the case. I could hardly imagine Sadako being meek and gentle like a girl in some fairy tale.
最近はあんな感じだけど、ちょっと前までは違ったんだよ。すごい甘えん坊で、いつも。さとこちゃんには内緒ね。
あのさとこが甘えん坊？
For Sadako to play coy, I think that would have to be part of some calculated plot. I mean, honestly, we can't discount that possibility. Even if she was to hide behind someone, I wouldn't think it was because she was attached to them. But since it came up, I tried to imagine a gentle and coquettish Satoko.
おい、さとこ。
何ですの、お兄様。
Satoko smiled cutely and walked towards me. By the way, for every 3 steps forward Satoko took, for some reason I took 3 steps away. I mean, I can understand that.
お兄様、なんで逃げますの？
すまん、さとこ。お前が愛想笑いして近づいてくると、何かの罠のような気がするんだよ。
ひどいですわ。お兄様の意地悪。
Yeah, it's impossible to interpret this as, like, genuine. Like, she's behaved that way, so, like, I don't know, she's cried wolf so many times now that it's, like, it's impossible to just see this as at face value.
ごめん。別に悪気があったわけじゃないんだ。
The weeping Satoko came closer to me. I'm a sucker for tears. Huh? A bear trap? My leg was being clamped down on by jagged metal teeth.
かかりましたわね。続けていきますわよ。
So even Keiichi can't imagine it. Satoko raised her right arm triumphantly, and traps began to trigger one after another. Suddenly, the wall sprang forward, throwing me 3 blocks away. And there I saw a giant metal ball covered in spikes hurtling towards me. On top of that, in the direction the ball would knock me, was a giant guillotine.
よくわかんないけど、ケイチ君、今すっごく突拍子もない想像してなかった？
いや、別に。全然してないぞ。
嘘だ。トゲ付き鉄球に潰されるって顔してたよ。
How could my expression convey what I was thinking like that?
すまん。塩らしいさとこの想像ってのはかなり無理がある。今度体調がいい時に再トライしてみるよ。
Next, I looked over at Rika-chan, who was working diligently on some kanji drills. In contrast to Satoko, her default state was meek and gentle. If Rika-chan came at me saying "Oni-sama," I'd hug her. Tightly. I could get used to that. I really hope that she does not turn out to be just like an evil demon.
ケイチ君よだれ。
あ、ごめん。じゃあ、リカちゃんはどうだよ。あれも見かけによらないってのかよ。
Saying that out loud, I felt a tinge of doubt. Was Rika-chan really all sweet? Despite her appearance, she really was quite sly. Sweetly. How do you put it? Evading things deftly.
確かにリカちゃんはただ可愛いだけじゃない気がするな。確かに見かけによらないぞ。
I couldn't put exactly what I was imagining into words, but Rena managed to say what I wanted to. She turned to me with an impish look in her eyes, like she was saying, you shouldn't say something like that.
リカちゃんはきっと大きくなったらね、すっごい美人になって男の人を振り回す小悪魔のような女性になるんじゃないかなって思うんだ。
I mean, that's not really the type of character that she turned into in Umineko, but I guess she isn't really technically grown up in that.
そういうのかっこよくない？
Rena said that lightheartedly, but I, as a man, couldn't laugh at that. The scary part about that, was that it felt like it could be true. Noticing my gaze, Rika-chan turned toward me and let loose with an angelic smile. Of course, she's probably hearing everything that they're saying. Both Rana and I, feeling as if that was directed toward us personally, had our hearts skip a beat.
Lena, hanaji.
Appearances can be deceiving, huh? Well then, what about our dear leader, Mion? I stared at her as she tried to weasel her way out of her scolding by the teacher. By Rena's theory, that unrefined, calculating, conniving Mion also had a side of her that belied appearances.
じゃあなんだよ。あのミオンも見かけによらず、実はいいやつだって言いたいのかよ。
みーちゃんはいい人だよ。
あ、まあそりゃそうだけどさ、そういう意味じゃなくて、その。
圭一くんの言いたい意味、わかるよ。
Catching on that I was struggling to express my feelings as words, Rena smiled even more brightly.
わかるって何がだよ。
みーちゃんって不思議でしょ？女の子なんだけど、男の子みたいっていうか。
That's right. Mion was more than aware that she was a girl, but it was exactly as Rena said. I wonder if this has anything to do with that little tick that she has, that little verbal tick of, like, this old man calling herself Oji-san. I don't know. Maybe her default personality that she shows us is actually, like, a male personality, somehow. I don't even know if that's, like, a real thing that happens in real life, or if that's more of a fictional thing, but I don't know. When Mion livened up the mood, it wasn't as though she felt like a guy or girl specifically, but a friend of the same gender.
あいつが男だったら、きっと意気投合するだろうな。ってそりゃ今と同じか。
でもね、そんなみーちゃんも本当はすっごく女の子らしいんだよ。
レナ、お前ミオンにいくらもらったんだよ。
違うの。もうちゃんとした話をしてるんだよ。だよ。
And of course she's evading the subject of herself, because if they start talking about her, she's gonna, like, maybe reveal that she has a certain devilish side herself. Rena began to pout. Now probably wasn't the time to joke around.
みーちゃんは部活の部長さんだからみんなのリーダーとして頑張ってるけど、本当はとっても可愛い女の子なんだよ。それ特に圭一くんには忘れてほしくないの。
Rena's gaze focused off into the distance beyond where Mion was. The Mion that I met at Angel Mor was unimaginably different compared to the Mion that I normally knew. Flustered and hesitant from the unfamiliar job, it was a far cry from the brash and confident Mion. Even though she had to hurry to work, she went through all the trouble to bring me food when I was on the brink of starvation. And she did so not as Mion, but as Shion. What exactly was Shion to Mion? Like some kind of coping defense mechanism, I guess? Like where she locks all her feminine traits away to be brought out at the right time without consequence on her day-to-day life, I guess? I don't know. That's the best way that I can put it. What kind of person was Mion exactly?
多分圭一くんには想像つかないと思うな。
As if to say it was our little secret, Rena held her finger up to her lips as she giggled. Mion, finally free from the teacher's preaching, returned to her seat, cradling her head to hide her embarrassment. And yet Keiji somehow managed to avoid being scolded himself.
チェ、おじさんはね、人生に必要な勉強は小学校までで十分だと思ってんだよ。
Saying that, she plopped down into her seat violently. Mion was actually pretty feminine, right. I wonder if I can meet Shion again. I wanted to talk to her again. The principal waved around the bell that served as the school chime. The teacher rushed back to the blackboard and began to list everybody's homework assignments.
今日は宿題が結構出そうだね。頑張らないと。
じゃあさ、レナもってことか？
何がかな？
Of course she's gonna be evasive about this.
人は見かけによらないって話、レナもってことになるのか？
There's even a hint of like that horrible laughter in there.
ケイチ君にはレナのことどう見えるかな？
The Rena Ryugu that I knew sometimes took things too far, but was generally a kind and gentle, ideal girl.
本当に？
And he didn't even say that, but I guess she just read the expression on his face.
だったら嬉しいかな？
If she was the opposite of what she seemed, that would make her...
逆なのだとしたら？
Just try saying it. I won't be mad. That's what I felt she meant. But, yeah, that's definitely not a wise course of action.
レナは？
レナは？
逆になってもレナだよ。だろ？
This question shouldn't have been so nerve-wracking to answer. It's like he's aware of just how terrifying she would be if that were true. Maybe it was because the person in question was staring at me, but even saying that took a strange amount of effort.
ずるいな、ケイチ君。そんな言い方されちゃったら気になっちゃうよ。
Perhaps unable to endure my silence, Rena's face began to burn red with embarrassment.
レナ、ケイちゃん、帰ろ帰ろ。
Mion walked over and started getting ready to go home. Whenever school is over, she really does get noticeably more energetic. It was the same relaxing walk home as always, digging around my pocket on a whim. I noticed something that should have been there was missing.
どうしたの、ケイちゃん？
いつも持ってるはずのうちの鍵がないんだよ。
That is not good. That means somebody could have stolen it, and that means somebody has a key to his house. So, that's something to keep in mind for later.
参ったな。どこにやっちゃったかな。親はいるから今日はいいけど、まずいよな。
それは困るね。忘れてきたの？それとも落としちゃったのかな？
Let's see, who would have had the opportunity to take it? Either Mion or Rena when he was sleeping during Phys Ed, I guess. Although he probably wouldn't have been wearing the same clothes in Phys Ed, so he probably wouldn't have had it on him. It probably would have been in his locker, or wherever he put his clothes during Phys Ed. Which one was it? Did I take it with me this morning in the first place? Huh?
ケイちゃん、その鍵の特徴は？
キーホルダーがついてる。昔夏休みの宿題で作らされたやつで、青いオットセイなんだよ。
あれ？目をつぶった感じでお昼寝してるみたいなやつ？
お、なんで知ってるんだよ。そうそう、それだよ。
Mion looked away and began to whistle.
さ、おとといケイちゃん、エンジェルモートに食事に行ったでしょ。その晩さ、お店で鍵の落とし物があったんだよ。
Oh, I see what's going on here. So basically, Mion she pocketed his key while he wasn't looking, and now she's giving him an excuse to go back to Angel Maud, just so that she gets to be Shion again around him. Or at least that's one interpretation.
それにオットセイのキーホルダーがついてた。
As she said that, she suddenly grew flustered and added that Shion had told her about it.
あの時に落としちゃったのか。
でも見つかっ ってよかったね。お店がきっと預かってくれてるよ。
そうだね。行ってみなよ。シオンの顔、私と同じだからわかるでしょ。
This was a rather unexpected development. Once again, I had no choice but to go and meet with Shion. But I also had to thank her for the bento from yesterday. Besides, taking some time and chatting with this other side of Mion might be interesting. Half jokingly, I began to think about things like this.
そうだな。エンジェルモートだっけ？シオンの店に行って鍵を返してもらって、ついでにお茶でも飲んで優雅に過ごすってのも悪くないな。
なんだか英国紳士みたいだね。ケイちゃんには似合わないかも。
ひょっとしてそのお店かな？
It'd be funny if Reina was like, why don't all three of us go together? Wouldn't that be something? And then, of course, Mion has to suspiciously duck out.
兄ちゃんの妹の働いてるお店は？
ああ、なんならレナも一緒に行くか。
ちょっと残念だけど、今日はお父さんと約束があるから。
Or maybe that maybe Reina and Mion have already discussed this privately, and it's already been established that Reina should not go.
またの機会にするね。
Reina seemed pretty disappointed about having to miss such a great opportunity.
双子だそうだけど、そんなにそっくりなのかな？間違えるくらい？
ああ、そっくりだ。外見だけはそっくりだ。中身はミオンと違っておしとやかで実に可愛らしいのにな。
In response to my teasing, Mion pouted and began to argue with me. I couldn't help but burst out laughing at Mion's little farce. After all, they weren't just identical, they were the same person. Maybe. It's like I'm leaning like 80% towards either she is a split personality in the same person, but also there might actually be a Shion that we've either never met or only met a few times. I don't know. After going home, I changed my clothes and dug my bike out of the garage. Just thinking that I would be able to meet Shion again gave me a mysterious feeling. Shion, a name for a different kind of Mion. She was a mysterious and ridiculous person, believing she had fooled everyone like that. I noticed that I was pedaling along quite happily. Could it be that I was looking forward to meeting Shion? I felt a sense of giddy anticipation, like I was headed toward a new friend's house for the first time. What Reina said about Mion actually being really feminine sprang to mind once again. The guilt from spying on another side of Mion, the self-consciousness from being the only one that knew about that side. These feelings mixed together. That was Shion for you. Mion's little twin sister. Until she felt like coming out and admitting she was Mion, it was fine to just call her Shion, right? Mion might be trying to have some fun by acting out a different persona. Well, I don't know. I don't know that necessarily fostering that is a great idea, but I don't know. I'm really not an expert on this, so... But then again, this is Higurashi, so we know that things can only end well, right? The last time I wasn't embarrassed since I was here with Dad, but this time I was alone. I was strangely self-conscious about it. Meet Shion, get my key back. That was all this task was supposed to be. If I dawdled around like this, maybe Shion would find me before she headed in for work. Hey, what are you doing, Keiichi, my butta? You're just here to get your key back, you know? It's not like you're some love-struck schoolboy here to hand over a love letter. The thoughts inside my head were slowly turning into a jumbled mess. I came to the realization that I was downright giddy. That's why, for just a bit, just a tiny little bit, I got a little carried away and did something really stupid. Oh god. kicked over a parked motorcycle that was blocking the sidewalk. Oh god. It was in the way, sure, but there was absolutely no need for me to kick it. I definitely think I got too carried away. I hope this doesn't end up being like the event that triggers the entire town hating him or something. As the 3 bikes toppled one after another like dominoes, the loud noise they caused snapped me back to my senses. Okay, just, if anybody asks, you accidentally bumped into it. The owners of those 3 bikes were right there. They looked exactly like what you'd call thugs up to no good. They lifted their heads up in an imposing manner and yelled angrily in a way I had never heard before. The 3 of them beelined toward me, the worn-down heels of their thin-soled shoes slapping noisily against the pavement. I could only stare listlessly as if I were watching some far-off event that didn't concern me at all. By the time I realized it, I had been grabbed by the collar and lifted onto my tiptoes. The 3 thugs were completely ignoring the rules of grammar, but the way they spoke was enough to make me tremble. Just like that, my composure drained away, my legs buckled, and my throat grew dry enough to crack. I was completely at fault, so there was nothing I could say in my defense. As a result, I was pulled even higher. The 3 of them continued to yell at me. I had no idea what each of them were saying. Getting further enraged that I was only listening while dumbstruck, they grabbed an empty plastic crate from a nearby store and began to smash it repeatedly against a telephone pole. Cracks formed in the crate, plastic shards flying everywhere. Then they slammed it full force into the shuttered storefront. The shutter let out a frighteningly loud noise. Still not satisfied, they flipped over a case of empty cans, scattering its contents all over the place. This was not normal. It was something you saw often on television or in manga, but I never thought seeing it in person would be this terrifying. I became painfully aware that the safety of civilized society was only held up by such a frail concept as morals. My knees clattered together noisily. Static began to pepper my vision. This is what you would call absolute terror. There was nothing I could do to stop this frightening spectacle of violence. I could only pray for help. The fear I felt was just too much. Would somebody help me? My gaze floundered about the surrounding area. I was surrounded by these 3 hoodlums. No way would there be a passerby brave enough to intervene. Maybe this was what you call reaping what you sow. If I were a passerby, there would be no doubt that I'd ignore what was going on. So, this was somewhat of a cosmic retribution. Angry, yelling loud enough to rattle my eardrum. Angrily yelling loud enough to rattle my eardrums, spewed forth right in front of my face. Or angry, I guess. I don't know, that's a really weird sentence. My waning consciousness was forcefully dragged back to the forefront. The thug had cocked back his free hand and twisted his body, when suddenly a metallic taste filtered through the back of my throat. That is the taste of blood. A chill ran down my spine like a jolt of electricity. Seeing what was going to happen next, I squeezed my eyes shut as tightly as possible and grit my teeth.
And
that right there that's Mion, that's not Shion. That voice was a short distance away. Still holding me by the collar, the 3 thugs spun around to look behind them.
だてめえ
I mean, I guess you could look at it as Shion also having a split personality. Then things would get really, really complicated. Or it could just be that this is what Shion is like when she gets mad. Honestly, this whole thing, it's very, very complicated. It's giving me, like, major Umineko vibes, too. Again, it was the same in Umineko, where there was often things where it's like, I have no idea one way or the other whether this is something that's actually real, or whether this is not something that's the truth. I mean, yeah. Standing there was Shion. I mean, Mion. She stood there, displaying an imposing stature that I'd never seen before. She didn't have the same look on her face as she did when we were playing around during club. Those were the eyes that would instill fear in anyone who looked upon them. The eyes of a raptor. They were the epitome of terror. Well, it's nice that they're not aimed at us for once. At the same time, they were the most reassuring things in the world.
もう一度だけ言うよ。ケイちゃん話してとっととうせな。
Mion, without an ounce of fear, laid down her ultimatum. Of course, there was no way those three wouldn't absolutely go berserk. The situation instantly turned explosively dangerous. Stop it, Mion. These guys are like rabid dogs. No amount of bluffing will work.
ミオン危ないから早く
I knew what I was saying was pathetic, but I couldn't let Mion get involved in this. No matter how you looked at it, Mion was only bluffing. No, I don't know. But did Mion even know the meaning of the word bluff? However, the reason behind everything soon became apparent. They were slowly increasing in number, little by little. At first, it was only businessmen on their way home stopping to take a look. Then it was housewives in the middle of shopping, taking a gander. Next, what seemed like the owner of some store showed up, and it was pretty clear he wasn't just looking. Around Mion, there was already about 7 people gathered. It felt different than people coming out to support a friend. Yeah, this is also really kind of creepy, though. Like, this is her power. This is the power of the Sonozakis. This is like her influence at play. It's really unsettling. But it's nice that it's working out in our favor for once, at least. Hopefully that lasts, but then again, who am I kidding there? If I had to say why, it was because the group that gathered was diverse in age and gender. The 3 thugs seemed to slowly realize that there was something strange about the situation. Behind them, at some point, 4 more people of differing clothes and ages had gathered. A girl who looked to be in middle school, a man wearing a bakery apron, an old lady in a house cleaning smock. More and more, people of various ages. Their gazes, comparable to Mion's, were of hostility, of intimidation. Before I realized it, over 10 people had formed a ring around us. At that moment, 5 elementary schoolers ran in and joined the circle. There were some familiar faces. Some of our classmates. Then these people were residents of Inamizawa. More and more people from Inamizawa gathered around. In obvious contrast, the residents of Okinomiya were passing by as quickly as possible. The group surrounding us had suddenly swelled to around 20 people. Completely encircled, the faces of the thugs began to show the first signs of panic. Nobody spoke a word, Mion included. That made everything completely unnatural, and depending on which side you were on, completely terrifying. Only the thugs' voices echoed out like they were screaming. Somebody took a step forward, closing the gap between them. As they did, everybody else took a step forward, shrinking the circle. Yeah, this is some, like, I don't even know. I don't have enough, like, horror movie background to say which one it is, but this is a definite, like, it's giving me vibes of, like, what is it, that one with the 2 children? I can't remember. I don't know anything about horror movies, but this reminds me of that. The hoodlums went pale as they were pushed together back to back while still yelling angrily. They were trying to string together vulgarities, but for some reason it sounded like they were crying out for help. Is this gonna be Kuma-chan? Doesn't sound like it's Oishi. It was sudden. A solidly built officer cut his way through the crowd. At some point, 2 police cars had arrived. Some passerby had undoubtedly called for them. Several burly officers appeared from inside the second vehicle. Mion, returning to her usual self, was nonchalantly pointing out the hoodlums to the police. Of course, the thugs were furious. I mean, you can already point to the damage that they caused, so... I mean, you could just lie and say that the bikes knocked over was their doing as well. But, I mean, anybody who was watching from the beginning would know that it was Keiichi who did that. So, honestly, he should just be honest and say that he accidentally got them angry, and he wasn't thinking when he knocked over their bikes. I don't know. But now that it had come to this, there was nothing they could do. It was their loss. The officers handcuffed the thugs and dragged them towards the patrol cars. No matter how much of a ruckus they caused, the officers paid no heed. In the blink of an eye, they were crammed inside the 2 vehicles. They could still be heard yelling while inside the police cars, but what they were saying was no longer intelligible. Oh boy, now that we've met him, things are gonna go south, as they always do when he shows up. He was probably a detective. The man leading the police peered at my face. The portly man, after taking a quick look around, addressed the crowd. I wonder if he's saying that while also being pretty suspicious of the situation.
お仕事ご苦労様です、大石刑事殿。住民を代表して日頃の公務に感謝いたします。一家の刑事がわざわざこんなところまでおいでくださるとは光栄の極みです。
It almost seems like she's trying to intimidate him by knowing exactly who he is and saying that like that, in that way. The way Shion talked didn't have a very pleasant tone.
O仕事頑張ってください。今後のご活躍を切に祈っております。
いえいえ。でも怪我人が出なくて本当に良かったです。
大石さん、オーケーっす。行きましょ
う。ではでは、良いお年を。失礼。道を開けてもらえますかな。
The detective named Oishi, after jovially making pleasantries, lumbered over to the waiting police car. It quickly set off, disappearing down the city street. It was over so quickly. So quickly, I was dumbstruck. I didn't even get to ask the officer what was going on. It was like they came here quickly to disperse the mob before any trouble could start. After making sure the police cars had left, Mion snapped her fingers sharply. Oh, she's acting like Mion now. That was the signal. The tension melted away in an instant as everybody began smiling. A middle-aged man helped me up,
大丈夫かい？前原の坊や。
Okay, yeah, so they must all be residents of Inamizawa then.
今度からは喧嘩は相手を選んでやりな。
別に喧嘩ってわけじゃ。
怪我とかしてない？頭とかぶつけてるならレントゲンを取っておいた方がいいわよ。
It really does seem like though that it's kind of like they said in the past, but the people of Inamizawa really like take care of their own, and they really have a strong sense of community. Whereas in this case, it's actually being directed toward us instead of against us. So I don't know. I wonder if that'll actually last this entire episode. Somehow I doubt it, but you never know. It might actually be something that comes in handy for once. An older lady I didn't know the name of was concerned about my injury.
たまたま駅前で人通りの多い時間だったからこれだけ集まれたけど、次からは気をつけるんだよ。最近の町もんは物騒なんだから。はあ、まったく。
I was even warned by the old lady in the smock. As Shion finished applauding the dispersing group for their efforts, she strode over to me.
いやいや、ケイちゃんもやるじゃない。でも私も相手を選んだ方がいいと思いますけどね。
Yeah, she's definitely speaking like Mion right now, like she completely forgot that she's supposed to be Shion.
サンキューな、ミオ。助かったよ。
だから私、シオン。
She made a troubled expression as she turned her gaze downward, blushing in embarrassment.
お姉に聞いてますよ。オットセイの鍵。あれ、ケイちゃんのですって？
あ、うん、そうだった。これからお店に行こうとしてたんだった。
それで浮かれてて、あんな変なのに絡まれちゃってたんですか？
I mean, that's not particularly wrong, but it's actually kind of unnerving that she came out and said that. Now it was my turn for my face to go red. I didn't want to admit that she was spot on.
まあ、ついてなかったよ。でも、シオンのおかげで助かった。
お礼はいらないですよ。だから、ケイちゃんも他の人がいじめられてるのを見つけたら、きっと助けてあげてください。私たち、そういうのをとても大切にするから。
I was well versed in that sense of camaraderie. But the way I was rescued just now, something seemed a little off about that. I mean, I guess if he ever comes across a situation where he sees that there are a bunch of other people from Hinamizawa around, then he could definitely join in with them, but I don't know about just being the first one to jump in to help somebody. I don't know if that would end well. While I was helped out, it was honestly to an almost disturbing degree. And once again, like, Keiichi is completely on the same page as me. Like, it's you would expect him to, like, play dumb a little bit, or maybe not, well, not play dumb, but, like, maybe be a bit dense and not understand that there's something weird going on, but no, I think we've been with Keiichi long enough to know that that's not how he is at all.
お店来ますよね。疲れちゃっただろうから一服しません？おごりますよ。
Seems that she caught the glimmer of suspicion in my eyes. Without waiting for my answer, Shion began walking. After cooling off a bit inside the restaurant, little by little I realized I was still on edge. There were spots here and there on my body that hurt, probably because I had been so stiff with nervousness. Shion, who had changed into her uniform, brought over 2 glasses of iced coffee.
はいこれ、おごりのアイスコーヒー。レジでこのチケット渡せば無料になりますからね。
My patheticness really knew no bounds. But since she went through the trouble, I might as well take her up on the offer. Even though it had started out as such a lovely day, I had to get carried away and do that stupid thing. I'd completely ruined it.
でも本当にさっきのは助かったよ。シオンが 本当に頼もしく見えた。
私だって怖かったですよ。でも他ならぬケイちゃんのピンチだし、勇気出して頑張りましたってことです。
While a little embarrassed by what she just said, Shion made a show of folding her arms boldly. By the way, did we already look at this? Yeah, I think we already did see that.
シオン、本当にありがとうな。
I was thanking Shion, but I really wanted to thank Mion. Mion, really, thank you.
ほらほら、もう元気出してくださいよ。もしも恩義を感じるなら、今度はケイちゃんが他の誰かのために戦ってくださいね。
She's basically saying, like, join us. Be one of us. Join the faithless mob who comes to the Sonozaki's whims and beck and call and all that.
例えば、私がピンチになったら、きっと助けに来てくださいよ。
ああ、もちろんだ。約束する。
Hopefully he doesn't end up breaking that promise, but just based on how Keiji is, I could see suspicion kind of like falling, I don't know, like him falling into suspicion and kind of breaking that promise and really regretting it. I don't know.
絶対ですからね。
Taking advantage of my words, she seemed happy about my promise.
ピンチになったら、ケイちゃんが助けに来てくれるのか。早くピンチにならないかな。あ、やっと笑ってくれた。
She said as she smiled herself, poking me in the cheek.
元気のないケイちゃんなんて、偽物もいいとこです。ほら、笑って笑って。
くすぐったいってば。やべ。
Thanks to Shion's meddling, I finally cheered up a little. All the muscles in my body that had stiffened because of the incident finally began to relax a little.
元気出たらお腹とか空いてこないです？私、お腹空いちゃいましたからホットケーキとか食べたいんですけど。ケイちゃんも食べます？
I wanted to show a little restraint, but restraint really wasn't my thing. That's why I replied without any.
だろうな。俺、ホットケーキはかなりうるさいぜ。
安心してください。うちのホットケーキはかなり評判いいですから。
Shion ordered some pancakes from a nearby waitress. An employee ordering from another employee seems kind of
おい
weird.
おい、そういえばシオン、今バイト中じゃないのか？俺とずっと話をして油売ってていいのかよ。
おじさんにね、私が不良に絡まれてるところをケイちゃんが助けてくれたって言ったら、ねぎらってあげろって。
Well then, that's one way of spinning it, I guess.
だから店長公認で OK です。
それ事実と正反対だぞ。いいのかな？
全然いいのです。
By the time the pancakes arrived, we had entered into a relaxed conversation. As the two of us ate pancakes, we livened the mood with some chit-chat. About what was on TV, celebrities, that kind of thing. Hobbies, food. Really nothing more than idle chit-chat. Talking together like this, I once again became conscious of Shion being a girl. Hey now, that's funny talk, Keiji, my betta. Shion and Mion are the same person. If there was anything different between them, it was only whether or not Mion admitted she was Mion. But given that, how come our conversation was this different?
ケイちゃんってお姉のことを女だと思ってないでしょう。
そんなことはないよ。男だったら容赦なくどつき倒してる。
ケイちゃんとお姉が仲がいいのって、そういうノンセクシャルな関係にあるって思うんです。それってなかなかできない羨ましい関係ですよ。
言ってる意味がよくわかんないが、まあ確かに女にしとくにはもったいないやつだよな。
あ、ケイちゃん、 それ男女差別ですよ。
Hearing the word sexist was cause for introspection. What was I prejudiced against Mion and Shion for? Mion was Mion. She was the best friend a guy could have, no reservations, and head and shoulders above me when it came to club activities. If I had met her 5 years earlier, my life would have probably been a lot more fun. Of this I had no doubt. And what about Shion? She was Mion's little sister, and it hadn't even been 3 days since we met. Her relationship was much more distant, as the only thread we had in common was that I knew her sister. It's very interesting the way, like, Keiichi kind of flip-flops back and forth between Shion being Shion and Shion being Mion. And for Shion, it was the same. I was somebody who she met 3 days ago only because I was a friend of her sister's. The difference between Mion and Shion. Friendliness. Familiarity. Playing around with those unclear thoughts for a while, I had stopped listening to Shion.
例えばですよ。聞いてます？
ああ、ごめん。聞いてるよ。
例えばですよ。私とお姉が共にピンチで、崖にぶら下がってるとします。
Oh god, this is a trap. Do not answer this.
ケイちゃんはどっちを助けます？どっちか一人だけですよ。
She wasn't saying it to tease me, but had a playful tone behind her voice.
嫌な問題だな。どっちも助けたいけど、それじゃダメなんだろ？
ダメです。
I think the correct answer here would be to say, well, I've known Mion for longer, so I'd save her. That would be the answer that she'd probably receive the best, even though, like, because that, like, gives her the idea that, like, maybe once I get to know you more, I'd save you, you know? But, I don't know.
シオンかミオンのどっちかだけです。どっちですか？
If it were Mion, I don't think she'd be in that situation in the first place. This is something that she could easily get out of herself. But what about the normal frail Shion? I guess I'd have no choice.
お姉じゃないですよね。
If Mion and Shion were different people, I suppose it would come to that. I couldn't confirm nor deny it. She should have been smiling, but her gaze was locked firmly to mine.
つまり、そういうことなんですよ。お姉はそのつまり、あれ？すみません。なんか自分で言ってて破綻しちゃいました。
Shion was trying to talk in a light-hearted manner, but I felt that there was something more behind her words. Was Mion trying to tell me something through Shion? Not being able to put a finger on exactly what it was vexing. Shion, to hide her embarrassment, turned the conversation
それよ
around.
りも、さっきのあれ、驚きましたか？
そりゃ驚いたよ。レナやサトコが駆けつけてくれるならともかく、あんなに老若男女がいろいろと集まってくるんだからな。あれ全部ひなみ沢の人なんだろ？
ええ、そうです。ひなみ沢の人はみんな結束してるんですよ。一人の敵は全員の敵。
And don't we know that firsthand?
日和見なんか誰もしません。結構頼もしい住民性なんですよ。
And yet, supposedly Shion doesn't even live in Hinamizawa, so clearly, that right there is probably proof that this is Mion.
誰かがいじめられたらみんなで結束してやっつけるわけか。なんだかマフィアとかヤクザみたいな結束だな。
そんなこと言っちゃダメですよ。とてもありがたいことなんですから。ケイちゃんもそれに助けられたんですよ。感謝の気持ちを忘れないように。
I half-heartedly agreed. I knew full well I should be appreciative.
ひなみ沢の人たちって本当に仲が良くて結束してるんだな。
昔からの伝統かな。ひなみ沢って昔からいろいろと廃村の危機に遭うんですよね。
several occasions. I think that's the first time that we've heard that. The first occasion that we know of is the dam, but I wonder what the other occasions were.
その度に結束して戦って存続を勝ち取ってきたっていう歴史があるんですよ。例えば、ケイちゃん、ひなみ沢ダム計画って知ってます？
Interesting that she's just volunteering this information this time. Last time we had to get it through another source, Tomitake. This time we haven't even met Tomitake. Hinamizawa Dam Project. Let's see. I feel like I've heard somebody talk about it before.
10年くらい前にね、突然ここにダムができて、ひなみ沢が丸ごと水没するって話になったんですよ。
あ、そんな話、親父かなんかに聞いたことがあるような。
Wow, so he heard it from his dad in this timeline, even though in the previous one he had never heard of it at all. I mean, I guess he could have heard of it in that time, like in the time frame between the time that he hadn't heard it last time and the time that he has this time, but I don't know.
でもそれって確か中止になったんだろ?
I mean, it certainly makes for better storytelling when Keiichi already knows about it, so we don't have to go into too much detail talking about it.
中止にさせたんですよ。みんなで団結して。だからこれは戦って勝ち取った勝利なんです。
That sounded pretty much like the story I heard. The protest intensified to the point where it was featured in newspapers and magazines. As a result, the plan was suspended.
ダムの話そのものは私が生まれる前からあったらしいんです。最初は候補地調査とか砂防のための小さいダムとかそんな程度の話だったんですよ。
But then, the cat was let out of the bag. If it were completed, it would have been the biggest dam in Japan. Not just Hinamizawa, but several villages upstream would have been submerged as well. The protests immediately began. Petitions to cancel or relocate the project were drafted and submitted to the Diet. They even went so far as to the Ministry of Construction in Tokyo to hand over a direct appeal to the minister. The previous landowner sued the government, stating there were inconsistencies in the purchase agreement and the transaction should be nullified. Owners of yet unacquired land split their properties, increasing the number of landowners in order to stifle the project.
土地の買収なんていうお金の問題のうちは可愛かったんです。そのうち土地の強制収用をちらつかせるようになりましてね。その頃からです。機動隊とかの暴力行為が目立ち始めたのは。
機動隊って警察だろ？暴力行為なんてするのかよ。
殴りますよ。蹴りますよ。
They did say that the government, through their subordinate organization, whatever that was, started doing like unspeakable things, but they never quite said exactly what those unspeakable things were.
私も殴られたことありますし、この辺だったかな。皮が切れちゃったみたいで血がすごい出ました。
I mean, that certainly explains a lot, though. Saying that, Shion indicated her temple by poking at it.
警察とかには
Filing a complaint against the riot police for police brutality would seem kind of strange for some reason. Naturally, they wouldn't pay heed to something like that. You wouldn't be able to establish proof on who exactly hit you, and they could just justify their actions by saying you were interfering with police duties.
うちのバッチャ、烈火のごとく怒り狂いましてね。それからがすごかった。もう全面戦争ですよ。こっちも座り込みで訴えるなんて生っちょろいことなんかしません。ガンガン攻めました。
First, in order to call attention to the government, they filed a temporary injunction in court. Then, in order to gain public support, they called in prominent scientists to state that Hinamizawa was a valuable nature preserve. They pressured the prefectural and municipal assemblies, saying that the prefectural governor ignored his constituents when he approved the project and demanded his resignation. They completely and thoroughly denounced him. I mean, they're saying all this to make it seem like it wasn't an actual, like, violent thing, that they returned violence with violence in kind, but that's, like, from what she said, full-scale war, that's definitely what it sounds like. Naturally, in Hinamizawa, a ferocious conflict worthy of being called the Dam War began. In order to suppress the police's brutality, they coordinated with the network channels and exposed the violence of the riot squad members to the public. On top of that, they put together a special expose themed around the government repressing the citizens and aired it nationally. It worked wonders. Following that, the SWAT teams had their hands cuffed. Day after day, the petitions and demonstrations continued. Propaganda was used to help garner support. I'm always wondering, though, it might end up being like what would you call that? An echo of the situation that we were just in ourselves there with Keiji, where he was the one who caused the entire situation, but those two thugs, or those three thugs, or however many there were, they're the ones who ended up taking all the blame, because that was just the story that the citizens of Hinamizawa spun. I wonder if that's how it was back for the dam as well. I don't know. The circle of support gradually expanded outwards from Hinamizawa. Either that bore fruit, or the government finally decided against it. It was announced that the dam project was indefinitely suspended just a few years ago.
私たちにできることなら何でもしました。村全部が一丸になって戦ったんです。あの時は必死だったけど、終わった今となってはいい思い出かな。村人たちの連帯感や団結心は今でも消えていないんです。
Shion said that as she focused off into the distance. I felt those eyes weren't filled with anguish, but rather a sense of pride. You know, actually, come to think of it, even if we take Mion's story at face value about Shion living with her parents, assumedly her parents do live in Hinamizawa, so that would mean that maybe Shion actually does exist, and she does actually live in Hinamizawa with Mion's parents. I don't know. I mean, it's something to think about anyway. Basically what I was saying earlier about her, like, being from Hinamizawa, that doesn't prove that she's Mion or anything.
そういう連帯感っていいよな。なかなかないことだよ。世代を超えて地域で団結できるなんて。
Well, it's certainly nice when you're not the one that is up against it.
私もそう思います。ダム計画は試練だったけど、それを乗り越えて得たものはとても大きいと思いますよ。
The fear I was feeling until just now gradually began to fade. When people began to show up one after another while I was engaged with those thugs, I thought it was frightening. But now, I felt from the bottom of my heart, that I had been rude. You know, I wonder if we might actually get a Keiji that thinks differently in this one, and he isn't suspicious of the people of Hinamizawa, and ends up kind of, I don't know, on their side more often than or more than the one from the last one, I guess. The villagers prepared to defend their homeland to the death. The sense of solidarity that fostered. It might seem impudent to say this, but I was a little jealous. If I had been in Hinamizawa when the protest against the dam was going on, I might have been able to share in that sense of solidarity.
ちゃんは反対運動の時、Hinamizawaにいなかったから、村人たちの連帯感を実感できないかもしれないけど。
And again, she like straight up reads his mind, but she's like really trying to win him over to their side here with this conversation.
みんなにはあるの。しっかりと。それはたとえ引っ越してきたばかりのケイちゃんに対してもね。
She couldn't have been more right. So many people get together to help me out just when I moved here, or when I just moved here. Even though there were strangers whose names I didn't even know. A hot feeling began welling up inside of me. When I lived in the city, I didn't even know my own neighbors. I thought that was natural, but here that was an absurd and pathetic thing. Even though I thought of them as strangers, all the other villagers viewed me as a comrade. Happiness and warmth. I was acutely aware of those feelings as they gradually welled up inside of me.
園崎さん、店長がホール入ってほしいそうです。
A more senior waitress waved her hand and called out to Shion. It seemed like it was time for work.
はい、今入ります。すみません。
And it's convenient that they just call her Sonozaki-san here, so they don't have to say Mion or Shion, so we really don't know which one they think of her as.
もう仕事しないとまずいみたいです。
いいよいいよ。
But he didn't get his key back, did he?
付き合ってくれてありがとな。楽しかったよ。
帰っちゃいます？
まあな、飯の時間には戻らないとお袋がうるさいし。
It seemed that Shion wanted to say something, but she swallowed her words. Like we hadn't talked enough, that kind of feeling. Looking at that expression, I regretted saying something that had disappointed Mion like that. I was about to say that I could stay for a little bit longer when Shion got up from her seat.
はい、これ。このチケットで払えば、ホットケーキ代も大丈夫ですから。
Saying that, she showed me a coupon booklet as she tore out a few sheets and handed them to me.
便利でしょ？お給料の他にもらえるボーナスチケットなんですよ。
いいよ。ホットケーキ代くらい払えるよ。
おやおや、遠慮するなんてケイちゃんらしくないですよ。私がお姉だったら喜んでおごられるくせに。
She said as she laughed, gently stopping me from opening my wallet. Being told so with such an encouraging smile really resounded with me.
園崎さん、すみません。レジ入ってください。あ、はい、今すぐ。
Later, today was fun. Saying that, Shion smiled one more time at
ミ
me.
オン、今日は本当にありがとうな。この恩は忘れないよ。
そう思うなら、きっと返してください。楽しみにしてますから。
After I said it, I realized I mistakenly called her Mion. I didn't know if she realized it or not. Lazing around and watching television after dinner was part of my daily routine. So we never actually heard if he got his key back, did we? That means that someone still might, well, Mion still might have his key. Or Shion, I guess. It might seem like a waste at first glance, but you could say it was an important time when I was able to accrue knowledge of everything from politics to economics to various trivia. After dinner was valuable time well spent while the brain was at its most supplied with nutrients.
バカバカ。東京タワーの方が高いに決まってるだろう。
Today I tested my knowledge of trivia by watching my weekly quiz show. Sitting in front of the television, I was able to get a lot of the answers right. But if I were actually up on stage, I'd probably fail miserably. I mean, that's how it usually goes. You kind of just have the freedom to pick and choose which answers or which questions to answer when you're just watching, but when you're actually up there, you don't get to decide that, so.
ケイチ、園崎さんから電話よ。
はいよ。園崎？ミオンか。
It was a little late for her to be calling. I had a bad feeling about this. I had a hunch it was something to do with club activities. She was probably going to inform me about what we were doing tomorrow. This was Mion we were talking about. She might even go so far as to say we're doing club activities right now, so hurry up and come over. By the way, it was 8 p.m.
もしもし、今から部活の野戦ってのは却下だぞ。
じゃなくて、
It was Mion, but it was a very un-Mion-like way of talking. Huh, could it be?
ごめん。ひょっとしてミオンじゃなくてシオンか？
そうです。どうもこんばんは。夜分遅くにすみません。
For Mion, this would have been an ill-fittingly polite way of talking. But since it was Shion, it was natural. Even though they were both the same person. With a dry smile, I enjoyed that mysterious
い
feeling.
や別にいいよ。それより何の用だい？
ケイちゃんはケーキとかデザートとか甘いものは好きですか？
There was no way I hated them. I'm an unabashed glutton.
ならよかったです。実はですね、夏の新デザートコンテストってのがありまして。
Looks like they have a new dessert menu every season. So they were hiring taste testers for potential
ホテル
desserts.
モートのデザートはかなり評判いいんですよ。モニターの募集もかなり倍率高いんです。それで担当直入な話。じゃーん。
じゃーんと言われても見えないからわからないけど。
そうです。そのモニターチケットがここにあるってわけです。もしも甘いものが嫌いじゃないならいかがですか？
いかがですかって、つまりなんだよ。そのチケットで俺が新デザートを食い放題と、そういうわけなのか？
They say to beware of honey pots, but this is sweeter than any pot of honey. All you can eat free dessert. No way.
OK ならモニター当選者の末番に名前を書いておきますね。
Although something gives me the feeling that, that would not, the novelty would wear off after the first few, and then it's like it just becomes work, and you probably want to vomit at the end of the day.
明日お店に来たら係の者に名前を言ってください。
And I like how she's subtly implying that he has to come tomorrow too.
それで万事 OK ですから。
万事 OK って、それで食べ放題なのか？無料なのか？
ええ、無料です。結構ありますから、お腹を空かせてくることをお勧めします。
This was such a delectable opportunity, it was almost scary. This was really Shion, right? It wasn't Mion posing as Shion in order to bait me into a trap, was it? What am I saying? They're the same person.
はい、ケイちゃんの考えてることは分かってますよ。こんな美味しい話があるわけないって思ってるんでしょ？
ギク。いや、そんなことは全然。
お姉から聞いてますけど、つくづく嘘のつけない人なんですね。私、そういうの嫌いじゃないです。
Shion laughed with a voice that sounded a lot like how Mion would laugh.
下心ってわけじゃないんですけど、実は私、明日はちょっとバイトしたらすぐに終わりなんです。もしもご迷惑じゃなかったら、その後ちょっとご一緒してもらってもいいかなって思う。
へえ、明日のバイトはすぐ終わっちゃうんだ。
はい。だから、ケイちゃんがデザート食べながらのんびりしてるうちに終わっちゃうんです。
まあ、俺も特に用事はないし。多少付き合うくらいなら構わないよ。
別にどこかに行くわけでもないです。夕涼みしながらお散歩でもできたらなって思ってるだけですから。
There was no reason for me to refuse. Out of courtesy, I might as well take her up on her offer. Although, walking through Okinomiya at night kind of seems like it might be trouble, or it might lead to trouble, but I mean, I don't know, it almost seems like she's looking for trouble and she wants to test Keiichi to make sure that he would respond in kind and actually help her out. Which I don't know, I think he probably would step up to the plate if it was her in trouble.
そういえば、ケイちゃんと私ってなんだか毎日会ってますよね。
言われてみればそうだな。
でも OK してもらえたおかげで、また明日も会える口実を作ることができました。
Huh? What was Mion saying?
ケイちゃん、なんだか声が裏返ってます。どうしたんでしょうね。
It wasn't a video phone, but she could tell I was beat
じ
red.
ゃあ明日、きっと来てくださいね。それじゃあこれで失礼します。おやすみ。
おやすみ。
It's kind of like Mion kind of wants to date Keiichi, but doesn't want to do it as Mion. Like, she feels that it would, like, ruin their platonic friendship and all that. So she's, like, trying to use this loophole to get around that. But, I don't know, it feels like that could really complicate things and make things even more messy than if they just dated normally. Shion finished with what she had called to say, ended the conversation without any chit-chat. When I returned to the living room after hanging up the phone, the TV was already off and my mom was sleeping in the rocking chair. Not feeling like turning the TV back on, I went back upstairs and returned to my room.
俺シオンに世話になってばかりだよな。
She brought me a bento and saved me when I got involved with those thugs. She was supposed to be a different person so I could thank Mion at school. Come to think of it, she'd probably just say she'll pass it on to her sister. I have to thank Shion directly. Tomorrow, I'll have to repay her somehow. Alright, details of the Delinquent 3. Yeah, I mean, I guess we probably do want details of them. Maybe they'll end up, like, getting murdered or something later. That would certainly be one way this could go. Or this is more like seeing the details of how these Sonozakis are covering things up. Seeing the details of how the story that the police received is different from what actually happened. I don't know. But anyway, we'll check that out next time. So until then, take care, and I will see you then.